The WWE have offered working contracts and matches at WrestleMania for Stone Cold Steve Austin and Cody Rhodes. And today, to start off with, before we jump into your questions, I'm going to dive into exactly how this happened, exactly why Cody Rhodes is leaving, exactly what has been going on backstage in AEW, and some of the matches that have been pitched, including an absolute game changer, but no, not Goldberg. I'm Tom Colohue. Hit like, hit subscribe, join this show, and let's jump straight into it. So, hello everyone. I'm Tom Colohue. We have a couple of people already jumping in the chat, and we already have 10 likes when we've been running for less than a minute. That is fantastic. Well done, everybody, on that one. We already have a packed chat, so I want to start off just by talking about what has actually been happening and the big changes that have already been planned for this year's WrestleMania. So up until about a week ago, WrestleMania was all up in the air, and I mean all up in the air. Nobody was certain about what was actually going to happen. The WWE, even more than most, had no clue what was going on, and only about a third of the show was stacked up. They had the Universal Championship match, both of the Women's Championship matches, Styles versus Edge pitched but not confirmed, and they had ideas for the WWE Championship. Right now, they still only have ideas for the WWE Championship match. More on that story later. But what they have done is reached out to a number of quote-unquote legends, as it were. This does include Goldberg, who they are trying to get a match on the WrestleMania card. That said, this match would not include Stone Cold Steve Austin, another person that they have reached out to ask if he would be interested in wrestling on the WrestleMania card. Right now, the match that has been pitched to him, that he is the most interested in, is Kevin Owens, and Stone Cold Steve Austin has been very open about the fact that he would like to lose to Kevin Owens. That said, it really does depend on the sort of contract he's been offered. The latest news on that one is that he's been offered a one-time deal, and then depending on that match and whether or not he impresses with his overall levels of fitness, he may be returning for longer. In the meantime, they are waiting on Lita to see whether or not she has a good performance at the Elimination Chamber. If she does, she will also feature at WrestleMania. Beyond that, we have one more name that we need to talk about, and that is the name Cody Rhodes. Cody Zap Brannigan Rhodes will likely be featuring at WrestleMania. He has decided not to renew his contract with AEW, and the WWE have leapt on that because someone, maybe Cody Rhodes himself, has been in direct contact with the WWE with a come and get me plea. The WWE were aware that Cody Rhodes was working without a contract, and one of the main reasons that they were aware is that someone, maybe Cody Rhodes himself, leaked it to the dirt sheets. It then made headline news that Cody Rhodes was working at AEW without a contract, and all of a sudden offers were coming his way. It is believed that the WWE contacted Cody Rhodes on the day that the news broke. Literally, on the day that the news broke. Since then, more news has been regularly being released to the dirt sheets, and it is really making this very, very easy for the dashing Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is one of those who is a genuine founder, or co-founder it should be said, of AEW. He was one of the originators. He is one of the first for creative and one of the most recognizable names, draws, anything you like, from AEW. As soon as he became available, Vince McMahon himself said, go and get him, do whatever it takes. The idea is that apparently Vince sees this as a major coup, not just in the sake of signing Cody Rhodes, but in getting one over on AEW. There have been problems with Cody Rhodes. The word that I was quoted several times was isolating himself. The idea being that Cody Rhodes has been isolating himself from the other executive vice presidents, taking a little time off, and not enjoying the rub of the green when it came from the crowd. There are rumours that Tony Khan was getting more involved in creative, and Cody wasn't happy with this. However, as best I can tell, Cody Rhodes was more than willing to... Tony Khan was more than willing to listen to Cody Rhodes' ideas, and most of his ideas have made TV. Right now, it did come down to money, and I feel that Cody Rhodes wanted to be more. If you're a regular here on the Tom Colohue channels, you will have been fully aware that the originals, that first batch of people signed to AEW, their contracts were coming up, and a lot of negotiations weren't going well. A lot of people were going to be leaving, and a lot of people weren't getting offered the money that they were expecting. Cody Rhodes is one of these. A number of different options have been pitched to WWE for WrestleMania and to Cody Rhodes himself as to, okay, come in, here's what we'll give you to get your feet on the ground and hit it running hard. The biggest name that I've seen pitched is an absolute game changer. It is just at this moment a creative pitch, to be clear, and I have to say that because of this epidemic of misquoting that's going on at the moment. There is a pitch from one member of creative at least that Cody Rhodes should come in and immediately go into a WrestleMania match against Triple H. There are a couple of other names that have been mentioned. One of the ones that's gaining a lot of steam is Seth Rollins, though as I say, right now, or at least as of right now, the WWE do not have a definitive plan in place for the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania. If there is no plan for the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania, less than a month and a half away from WrestleMania, we got a problem. So we could potentially see Bobby Lashley versus Cody Rhodes. Tommy, just to be clear, I did say it was pitched by creative. Want to make that very clear. Let's catch up with the chat and see what people's reactions are to that news. Firstly, big welcome to everyone. We did have a couple of messages before we started the show. Prez Noir says, any update on Sasha? I've given every update that I have on Sasha. David Leary says, hello everyone, and hello to David. Right, so things that came in during the chat. Wiggly says, and his name is Tom Colohue. It is. Welcome, Wiggly. How you doing, mate? Austin Palmeter says, is this Cody thing really true? I'm hearing it to work. It's not. It is true. Though there is speculation that it is not entirely honest. I doubt they would play this one this close to the chest. Thank you for the follow on Twitch, Jordan P2334. Very much appreciate it. Every little does help with the overall growth on both YouTube and on Twitch. So thank you very much for that follow. Sean Cena says, hello, Tom. Hello, Sean. Larry says, hello. Hope there's lots of exciting new stuff. Missing the start of World War III for this. If anyone hears any nukes exploding, please post it in the chat. We got you, mate. If we hear any big booms, we got you. Sorry. No, sorry. Wiggly says, did you say no, not Goldberg for my benefit? I did not. There was a report on WrestlingInc.com that according to them, Andrew Zarian on his Mat Men podcast, in a show that I believe he referred to as It's Live Pal, supposedly reported that Goldberg would be taking on Steve Austin at WrestleMania. Andrew Zarian himself said, yeah, I never reported that. That was just a bit of speculation. Massive misquote. Huge mistake made. As we know, this happens more often than it should. Much more often than it should. And I felt the need to clarify. Rob, welcome, mate. Says, hey, Tom. The wrestling world has been shook to its core. This is exciting. It is. It is. And it's kind of made WrestleMania a lot more interesting than it was in the build-up. Wiggly says, your team left it late in the Inter Milan game. They did, but they got there. Simon says something very similar. Hi, Tom. Congrats on your team Liverpool winning 2-0 away against Inter Milan in the Champions League tonight in Leg 1 away at Inter Milan. It's a good start, but let's finish the job in 3 weeks. Haas says, what's up, Tom? You my homie. Interesting, but I'll take it. Rob says, shame it's such a slow news week. Hey, Tom. I mean, I'm here on a Wednesday. I'm here on a Wednesday because it's so slow, and there's just such a small amount of news that I'm here on a Wednesday. We are genuinely getting so close to daily. So close to daily. Closer to WrestleMania, that may happen. Sean says, according to Ringside News, Buddy Matthews has big interest from AEW. When you say according to Ringside News, I believe what you mean is it's according to Fightful Select. Because Ringside News just aggregate. Wiggly says, I mean, Goldberg versus Austin would be about 20 years late, but I'd like to see it. You and not me. The Pop Culturist, welcome to the show, says, would be rad to see Stone Cold and KO stun each other. I have absolute confidence that moment will come. It will be a battle of who gets stunned first. I do hope that Kevin Owens wins, and I am hearing that Stone Cold will be happy with that. Sean says, as a big Stone Cold fan, I don't want to see him wrestle again. He's 57, had to retire due to a neck injury. No indication yet whether or not he's actually cleared to wrestle, just to be clear on that one. Wiggly says, I hope they build Cody up to win the WWE title. Maybe he could be the one to finally dethrone Roman Reigns at next year's WrestleMania. Would that be a popular choice? Honestly, pardon me, the most interesting thing about Cody signing to WWE will be the reception that he gets from fans. Because I have no idea what reception he's going to get from fans. He may be looked at as a deserter, so to speak. He may be looked at as a returning hero. There's a lot of different ways this could go, a lot of different ways. While I've got you, if you're watching on YouTube, please remember to hit that thumbs up button. Every like goes a long way to the growth of this channel, and after all, we are currently sitting at 40 viewers across both Twitch and YouTube because of the amount of likes we've had recently, and of course the subscription. So if you haven't subscribed, please do that as well. We are only waiting on another, I believe, 58. Indeed, 58 new subscribers in order to reach monetization. When it comes to watch time, we're basically there. KJ says, wait, did you say Goldberg versus KO or KO versus Austin? I said KO versus Austin. There was a misquote of Andrew Zarian which stated Goldberg versus Austin. That is also not happening. KJ says, no, Cody can't beat Roman. He can, but will he? You know how when it comes to one of these big names, the WWE likes to just say, you can have anything you want, anything you want. Tommy suggests that Khan is starting to get power hungry and will ruin AEW. It's his AEW. He can do whatever he wants with it. A few people in the company need to remember that. Sonic says, hello. Seems like the Cody news spread like wildfire. Like crazy. It's big news, mate. It's big news. It's proper Kevin Nash stuff right now. Simon suggests Lita versus Sasha. Certainly a possibility. I mean, they are looking for a match for Sasha after all. Ghost says, never a day of rest in the wrestling world. Jeez. I mean, I had yesterday off. That was nice. That was nice. Simon is saying, really glad AEW haven't gotten any more. Cody's felt out in the cold since. No. That AEW are plenty more. Plenty more. Wiggly says, given Triple H is still covering for a cardiac arrest, I would rather not see him in the ring again. Me neither, but someone has pitched it. Dimitar says, hi Tom. Hello Dimitar, great to see you mate. And Bro says, hey Tom. With the news, Alexa Bliss is now in the chamber. Is she actually winning this and facing Becky at WrestleMania? Also, I thought Asuka would be the final entrant. I thought so too, very much thought so. The writing seemed to be on the wall that would be the situation. But right now, it looks like Alexa Bliss is just there to fill a spot. Will not be winning as far as I can tell. Is very likely to be taken out early and return to therapy. Simon suggests it should be Rollins versus Lashley for the WWE Championship. Triple H isn't even doing office work. Yes, both of those things are true. And Tommy says, biggest news in wrestling in a while. It is indeed. WrestleFan says, hello, how are you? Hello, WrestleFan. I'm good, thank you. How are you? David Leary says, Tom, is it almost a certainty that Cody is signing with WWE? Yes. The WWE have absolute confidence that they are getting this signing. Mitchell, welcome, says, the chances of Roman squashing Goldberg, low. My expectation is the match will only go 10-15 minutes and will look like a squash by the end of it, but will not be a squash from the off. Rose says, would Cody returning to WWE get a huge pop? I have absolutely no idea. That's very much up to the fans. Wiggly suggesting Cody Rhodes needs a hero's welcome. He was never a hero in WWE. He was never a big deal at all in WWE. So we'll see what happens. James Stewart, welcome to the show, says, evening Tom. Will there be a WrestleMania host this year? And please don't say Johnny or Knoxville. I don't know if there is planned to be a WrestleMania host. We've had a number of different contests and things over the years. There's a number of people who'd be very good in that position. I'm not sure, to be completely honest. I would not mind the idea of someone like Bayley hosting properly this time. And then, while hosting, just getting a little bit more physical again. Getting some revenge on the Bellas, who embarrassed her last year, or something like that. But we'll see how it plays out. Tommy says, could do Cody versus Orton with Triple H at ringside. Could do Cody versus Orton is also something that's been mentioned, but there are already plans for Randy Orton at WrestleMania that kind of make him more necessary, whereas Seth Rollins' position is not firmly in position. Dimitar says, any news on women's matches for WrestleMania besides both title matches? Only one confirmed at the moment is the Women's Battle Royal. They are planning to have that return to the show. That's the only thing confirmed at this point in time. BFG says, this is my opinion on the Cody situation. I don't think Tony is power hungry like some people are suggesting. I believe it is the opposite, that Cody is power hungry. Tony saw that and told him. They seem to be leaving on good terms. That's what I'll say on this one. Cody Rhodes is known to isolate himself a little bit, and has isolated himself apparently from the other EVPs, particularly in his booking style. But at this point, it's really hard to see what's definitely true and what is speculation based on what's already out there. Sean says, if Cody does come to WWE, would Brandy and Dustin come with him? Nope, the WWE at the moment have no interest in Brandy Rhodes or Dustin Rhodes. El Great Hector, welcome Hector, said, would it be a slap in the face if they did a Cody Brandy versus Miz Maurice at Mania? I'd like to see him have an Edge style run. Who knows what happens when a 75-year-old man is in charge? Well, it could be Edge versus Cody. I don't think that's an impossibility. I don't think it would be a slap in the face. That's a good establisher. But at the moment, no real interest in Brandy Rhodes. Kuro, welcome to the show, mate. Says the only accurate thing ringside has reported is that Pierce does in fact look like a bald Tom Brady in WWE 2K22. Not entirely true. As regards ringside news, they have correctly reported a couple of things. For example, the Shane McMahon news, even though he is kind of still working for the WWE. Anthony Phillips, welcome to the show. Says, I love your YouTube channel. Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. If anyone else is enjoying the show and just loves the YouTube channel, please remember to click that like button. That little thumbs up makes a massive difference. If you've not already subscribed, please remember to do so, and indeed jump in with as many questions as you have. We are a live question and answer session ongoing. We do this for every single show. Start with the news, jump into question and answer, and I go either as long as an hour or as long as there are questions in the chat. So please, if you have any questions, jump in and share. Sean says, Cody will come back and make fans wear paper bags over their heads like he did when he had his nose broken. Well, while I would enjoy that, the fact is he won't hide the tattoo. And WWE main roster, not the biggest fan of tattoos, which shows how much they're bending over backwards this time round. Right, continuing for BFG, Tony saw what was going on with Cody, according to BFG's opinion. Says, bye-bye, realised he was starting to turn into a bit of a jerk, money hungry, etc. Didn't want that toxic energy once again in his company. Please read together with above comment. I read the first one and then didn't see it until this one. Unfortunately, there's a lot going on right now, BFG, but I've connected them now, and it seems to be going together quite nicely. Looking at what you said there, BFG, that is certainly an opinion that you're entitled to have. I am yet to hear anything from the from the Tony Khan situation as of yet. Nothing from his perspective has gotten out there so far. Simon says, Drew should be the one to dethrone Roman on a UK pay-per-view coming up later this year, or The Rock Dwayne at WrestleMania 39 in Hollywood in LA. If The Rock wins the Universal Championship from Roman Reigns, he will defend it even less than Brock Lesnar did, so I'd rather never see that. Sai, welcome, mate. Says the Observer reports that Cody left as he lost booking duties in AEW. I wonder if he's getting the book in NXT. He absolutely will not be getting the book in any section of WWE. That will never happen. The only person who has final booking authority and final creative control is Vince McMahon. Just as the final person who has creative control in AEW is Tony Khan. I've said this a number of times, and it always amazes me how much people go by this. Oh, well, this wrestler has creative control in AEW. They don't. Nobody does. Nobody has the final say apart from Tony Khan. And it's exactly the same in WWE, where you can script as much as you want, but it's up to Vince. After all, Xavier Woods has pitched a lot to Vince McMahon in the past. The New Day was born because of Xavier Woods pitching stuff to Vince McMahon. He does listen, if he can get to him and not to a representative of him. John says, hey John. For a while I've been wondering why WWE stopped doing their wish them the best in future endeavours statement. Tony Khan put together an elegant, well-written statement about Cody's departure, and I think it puts WWE to shame. Why did WWE not do these statements anymore for releases? Well, the main reason is that most of the releases are them firing people, whereas Cody Rhodes was not fired, his contract simply came to an end. It's a very different circumstance. The wish them best in future endeavours is basically the WWE's way of saying, we fired them and we are taking none of the responsibility for it. Tony Khan did take some responsibility for this, despite the fact Cody Rhodes was not fired. I believe that's very respectable, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right call, because a lot of people suddenly think, oh, it's obviously a work, when there is no evidence of that whatsoever. Wiggly says, overall, I've always been a big fan of Cody, and he and Hikaru Shida were the key reasons I tuned into AEW. Disappointed he never got pushed for the WWE title or for the AEW title. Hope this time WWE do the right thing and push him, to the top. From a nostalgia point of view, he is coming home, and it would be a fitting tribute to his career, his brothers and his fathers if he eventually won the WWE title. I think it's more likely that the first title Cody Rhodes is going to win is the United States Championship straight from Damian Priest. That's what I feel is more likely. Also says, is Asuka ever coming back? Maybe. Who the hell knows at this point? Pop Culturist says, in your opinion, do you think anyone would begin to move over with Cody? Yes, there are a number of people in AEW who do not think the grass is greener there and would love to have an approach from the WWE. At the moment, however, the WWE is not hiring. Cody Rhodes is an exception rather than a rule because the WWE are viewing this as a coup. If they can take one of the founders of AEW away from AEW, that is a serious blow to all elite wrestling, and really does make a statement that the WWE do not have top level competition in AEW, because, you know, your founders find it better here than over there. It's a powerful statement, and they're going hell for leather to make it happen. Wiggly says, the big thing about Cody coming back is the secrets he brings back about AEW. I don't think there's any secrets, to be honest. I don't think there's anything huge. Wiggly says, I can see Goldberg winning by DQ in Saudi, but Roman retains so that Goldberg looks strong, but Reigns doesn't lose the belt. I don't see that happening. I see Goldberg losing. JJ, welcome, mate. Says, hey, Tom. What is WWE waiting on to announce Hall of Fame inductees? People to say yes. People keep saying no. They're not ready for it. They're always very surprised when someone turns down a Hall of Fame induction. For example, a Jeff Hardy or a Chris Jericho. Lots of different people. Matthew Ham, welcome, says, who is Cody's planned opponent at WrestleMania? Nothing definitive yet. He has not signed pen to paper as of this live show, or at least the last news that I got. When it comes to pitched opponents, there is a pitch from at least one member of Creative that Triple H should be going up against Cody Rhodes from the off at WrestleMania. There are others, such as, for example, Seth Rollins. It's weird, because I'm learning to spot trolls even better. Someone came in to talk about Cody Rhodes, but just went racial, and now they're talking about name redacted. So bye-bye, dickhead. Like, do you have nothing better to do? Is this your entire life? Just being banned by me? It is pathetic. Bless you, trolls. You give me the watch time, you pathetic whiny little bitches. Good work. I clicked a button. Whole thing derailed. Well done. Simon says, Cody's best work in the WWE was his run as the IC champ feud with Ray. Heel, face, mask, bagger run. His feud over Sandow, over Money in the Bank. The Rhodes Brothers feud with the Shield over the tag team titles. So a lot of stuff is basically what you're saying there. Wheeler says, when Reigns loses, that's the point he is departing for his film career. Not true. I think Cody is a great wrestler but was never pushed to the top. Also true. Gone away for a few years, developed his character and skills, and I think his second run will be good for him. All of this, I completely agree. Simon says, Goldust. Basically the same person, let's be honest. They all look exactly the same. Goldberg, Goldust. You could never tell the difference. Simon says, Goldust said in his Twitter, he's staying with AEW running training with the Nightmare Family factory students with the great legendary Arn Anderson. WWE has no interest in Brandy Rhodes or Dustin Rhodes. There is, of course, a possibility that Cody says, I won't sign without Brandy, at which point they will bring Brandy in, but we'll see how it plays out on that one. No interest in Goldust or Dustin Rhodes as he is known now. Mag says, hi Tom, do you think it is an ego problem from Cody that he left AEW? I don't know the man. I don't know the man. Couldn't say. I have no idea. Don't know the man personally. Haven't had anything from Tony Khan's perspective either. I cannot speculate. All I have heard is that Cody Rhodes was isolating himself from the other EVPs as his time in AEW continued. That is an opinion from other people, to be clear. Hector says, would you compare Cody potentially coming back to WWE after going an Indies route? Like Drew McIntyre? The WWE look at it that way. They look at it like Drew McIntyre. Oh, he went away, he honed his craft on an indie, and then he came back. That's not the case. He literally tried to give them legitimate competition, and at this point has not quite succeeded. Not quite. But I think it's very telling that Cody very much went quiet for a long time when it came to that argument directly taking on the WWE. FNAF says, does Cody have a planned opponent for WrestleMania if he comes back? Not at this point. David Leary says, has Roxy signed with WWE? I'm not entirely sure. There are rumours that that is the case. Bro says, we're getting Drew versus Corbin at Mania, aren't we? Yes. Yes, we are. Wiggly says, Rock dethroning Roman Reigns doesn't work. Needs to be a passing of the torch moment. It does, but the WWE don't always succeed at passing of the torch moments. Usually they just sort of pass it back and forth between the big guys and then wonder why they're not making more stars. Gary says, poor Cody. Danhausen coming in and selling a lot of shirts clearly made Tony think twice about throwing the bag at Cody. You're a funny man. I like that. I like that. Wiggly says, do you not think Cody might be given a position behind the scenes? No, I don't. Tommy says, did you see 205 Live is done and they're doing NXT Level Up now? I did. There have been rumours about 205 Live shutting down for a while now. I've certainly spoken about them for a while. There's a number of videos on this YouTube channel about it that you can check out. It wasn't a matter of if, it was always a matter of when. Same with Kairi Sane's contract. Sean says, Dave Meltzer reported there's one more surprise left for WrestleMania besides Austin. This surprise is supposed to be Austin level. Austin level, eh? What's Shawn Michaels doing at the moment? James Stewart says, with Lesnar making appearances on almost every show, will this only be a short-term thing until Mania? Firstly, yes. Secondly, he's only appearing on Raw at the moment. Haven't seen him on SmackDown all that much at the moment, but that's because he has a chamber. Then he will be going up against Roman, so that's when they'll start really pushing it. When it comes to short-term, yep, after WrestleMania, expect Brock Lesnar to vanish until at least Money in the Bank, possibly even SummerSlam. Max says, with Sasha's treatment, I wouldn't be shocked if Sasha will be at the Women's Battle Royal. Cannot wait when Sasha is leaving WWE next year. Haven't heard anything about her leaving WWE next year. Last I heard, she's very happy with the company. Kuro says, if WWE has Cody back, bring him to NXT for a match. Carmelo Hayes versus Cody, Josh Briggs versus Cody, Dexter Lumis versus Cody. No interest whatsoever from WWE main roster and from Vince McMahon in having Cody Rhodes in NXT. They want him against Edge, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles. They want him on Raw. Pardon me. Bro, I believe I've already referred to that. I can't catch it. Okay. Bro says, is there any truth for the Dave Meltzer report? There have been discussions of there being a surprise appearance at WrestleMania on Stone Cold level. Yes, they have been talking about that for ages. Literally ages. Just desperately trying to have some more surprises. That's all it is. James Stewart says, Cody could bring some prestige back to the IC title and then move up. He could. He very much could. Or the US title, which is indeed the plan at the moment. Wiggly says, do you think there was any beef with Cody and Tony? No idea. Again, I have absolutely no idea what the personal relationship was between Cody Rhodes and Tony Khan. I certainly cannot state anything in particular. Oh look, the racist's back. And fuck off, racist. Matthew says, what is the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania? They don't know for certain. They're still working on it. Sean says, I thought Dean leaving was a work at first because they kept saying his contract was expiring. Yeah, a lot of people really think it's a work when contracts expire. No. Cody's going. Cody's going. Sean says, if Cody leaves AEW, do you see Jericho, Kenny and Moxley leaving? The two are not connected in any way, shape or form. Cody Rhodes leaving will have no impact on Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega or Jon Moxley. No impact whatsoever on their position in AEW. Simon is saying, the day they signed Cody Rhodes, it was the final of the Men's Dusty Classic with the Diamond Mine winning it last night. Very ironically. Did they sign? Last I heard, there's been no official signing yet. Hector says, what do you think of Dave Meltzer's report that there'll be an Austin level surprise? I believe I've covered that, so I'll just roll on. Sonic says, I see that some fans want Asuka versus Io Shirai, NXT stand and deliver. You would see that. You know a hell of a lot of Asuka fans because you're a massive Asuka fan. BFG says, I don't know why some people are worried about AEW going forward. I think they will do just fine without Cody. People come and go all the time from both companies. They do, and there will be a bit more of a revolving door at this point between the two companies to try and work out what's actually going on and who's sticking where. But going forwards, we'll have to wait and see what the actual plan is and what they can actually deliver. But we are where we are with this one. Wiggly says, I also read an interesting interview for Karashida where she seemed to be alluding to the fact that she's finding it difficult to stay at the top or relevant in AEW. She's alluding to possibly not returning. Big loss if true. If that is indeed what she's alluding to, I kind of get it. It's not easy competing in a locker room filled with people when they have like one women's match a show. Thank you very much, Michael, for renewing your subscription. That is a full 12 month, a full year, and I'm very, very grateful for you taking that chance on me 12 months ago and continuing to do so now. Thank you, Michael, and welcome to the show. Lance, welcome. Says Triple H versus Cody would be the most enticing, but only if Triple H is fully recovered and healthy. Don't want him risking his health to put on a show. That is very much my opinion as well. I don't want anyone risking their health to do so. Pop Culturist says, has the WWE's reach for potential growth outside the ring played a role in Cody's offer? Yeah, absolutely. If you want to be a big star, WWE is still the place to go. AEW will make you well known to the people who already know you. They'll make you a bigger deal to the people who already know you. The WWE will put you in front of the world. The whole damn world. If you're currently watching on Twitch, please consider hitting that follow button. You'll get a notification every time we go live, and subscribe if you would like. In the meantime, over on YouTube, please do consider hitting that thumbs up. That little like button can make a massive difference to the growth of this channel, and subscribe if you haven't already. We are currently on the race to 1,000 subscribers. Pardon me. And we are growing faster than we ever have. We continue to hold on to having more than 100 new subscribers. More than 100 new subscribers per 28 days. We continue to hold that. And as long as we hold that, we are going to be growing exponentially. We are going extremely well, doing fantastic, and I'm very, very excited to see how far we can take this. So please do hit like if you haven't, subscribe if you haven't as well, and to the racists sitting in the channel waiting to start screaming racial things, thank you for the watch time. FNAF says, do you want Stone Cold to come back or should he just stay retired? I would like him to come back if he is there to put people over and not take risks. My issue, really simply, is that if you come back like Edge did, for example, you're not creating new stars. You're just wrestling the stars that are already there, making yourself a bigger deal. I like Edge. I think he's a great wrestler. I very much enjoyed his program with Seth Rollins. There were some good wrestling matches. I haven't seen the Hell in a Cell, but I heard it was good. But he's not doing anyone any actual favours, is he? He's not creating new stars. He's not developing any talent. Give me Edge versus Finn Balor. Give me Edge versus Riddle. Give me Edge versus Damian Priest. Give me Edge versus Chad Gable or Otis. Give something back. Anyway. Devon says, who in your opinion is the next Rock of WWE? Bianca Belair. Dimitar says, I think Cody will be in a similar role to Seth. Upper mid-card and a reliable heel. Very similar to Edge then. He's definitely upper mid-card at the moment, Seth, but he's got main event written all over him. I don't feel Cody Rhodes will immediately drop into the main event, but we'll see how it goes. Simon says, me personally, Stone Cold should have retired, not worth it. Cody was always in Sammy Guevara and Tay Conti's weekly blog, isolated himself away from being the elite. There are different opinions on this. As far as I can tell, yes, there was some isolation happening when it comes to Cody Rhodes. Simon says, always positive, happy vibes from my girl Sasha, that's all. And that really is all we can hope for. Tommy says, people still think Bray Wyatt thing is a work. They do. I do feel that some people are living in a really kayfabe world or just don't quite understand wrestling. Ghost says, this is the most I've heard people talk about Cody in a long time. Personally don't see Cody being world champion, maybe IC or United States champion. May have hit the nail on the head with the United States champion. but nothing more. He was never that popular in WWE or AEW to begin with, so I personally don't see this as being a nice jab from the WWE to AEW, see it being more than. The WWE see it as being a pretty hefty jab in AEW's direction. That's their opinion on this. When I say WWE, I usually mean WWE management, and this is what I'm referring to. Vince sees this as a coup and a jab in AEW's direction, and of the overall vibe that you get from AEW. He views this as AEW being put in their place. Kuro says, do you think there's anyone who went to AEW specifically for Cody who might try to jump with him? Yeah, Brandy. JJ says, Tom, I wanted to ask this when it happened. Did WWE make Charlotte and Becky talk to each other to end the fight, or did they do it after Survivor Series? Neither. They spoke before Survivor Series because they wanted to clear the air between themselves. And it was apparently very productive. They're not the best of friends, by any means, but they are professional and working very hard together. Sean says, is Alexa actually done with therapy? There are still a lot of vignettes, 4 or 5 to my knowledge, that have not been used. My expectation is that she will lose pretty handily in the Elimination Chamber, and then go back to therapy. Tommy says, one thing we know for sure is Taker will never jump to AEW ever. Hopefully he'll never wrestle again, let's be honest. Michael says, yes sir, and yes sir to you. Thank you, Michael, for that. Lahockman's here saying, hey Tom. Hey Lahockman, how you doing, mate? Jordan says, Vince gives you a call and asks you to book Mania. When would you have Cody debut? Who would he face at Mania? And would it be a gimmick match? What I would do, honestly, I would go Seth. I would have Seth Rollins not booked for WrestleMania. Not booked at all. And then during night one, I'd have him come out, declare that he has no one to compete against, that he's been kept off the card. He wants a shot against whoever beats Bobby Lashley. Whoever Bobby Lashley is wrestling. Let's assume that Bobby Lashley is wrestling Brock Lesnar on night 1, and then Brock Lesnar is wrestling Roman, potentially title versus title on night 2, but Bobby Lashley actually wins on night 1, so he just goes from there. Let's just assume that. That's what I'm saying here. At that point, when Seth is saying that, I'd have Cody come out unannounced, say that he wants first, and then the two of them have a match. And then the winner, in this case Cody, takes on Bobby Lashley the next night, and Cody loses. Yeah, I'd have Cody win the first night, wrestle again the second night, and lose. That's what I would do. BFG says, the reason I feel they'll do just fine is because they have all their star power now that they didn't have before when they first started, and more coming in. The fact that they have CM Punk, who will always be a bigger name than Cody Rhodes, Daniel Bryan, who will always be a bigger name than Cody Rhodes, and Adam Cole, who will soon be a bigger name than Cody Rhodes, tells me everything I need to know as regards the plan for that. Oh, here we go again. Where's the hate speech? More hate speech. I'm just going to keep reporting you. Because at this point, I do feel that you need an IP ban. And YouTube can do that and I can't. I think they got there pretty quickly because, yeah, they're gone. They're gone. Who needs mods when you got trolls? Matthew Ham says, any updates on other planned matches for WrestleMania? Not at the moment, though. Randy Orton and Matt Riddle do seem to be locking in against Chad Gable and Otis. Moneymaker says, on the WrestleMania, I assume you meant Backlash poster there, WWE just released, they have Roman, Lesnar, Sasha, Ronda, Becky and Charlotte. Does WWE consider them their big six? Kind of. It's mostly just the only people they already have announced, plus Sasha. Michael says, I wish people could stay retired. I get you. When it comes to WWE, they consider themselves right now to have a big four. Roman Reigns, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins. That's the big four, and it has been for the past 5 years or so. Jay Quick says, hey Tom, I announced some exciting news. You may go right ahead, Jay Quick, and you announce whatever the hell you would like. Sean says WrestleMania Backlash was announced for a Sunday in May, and that sucks. Because now I've got to stay up all night. Now I've got to stay up all night, and that sucks. David Leary suggesting Edge versus Austin Theory. I'm sticking with Edge versus AJ. I do think it'll be Balor versus Theory again. Buzzy says hello. Hello, Buzzy. How the devil are you? Michael says I think Cody slots right back into the mid-card. I think he'll get a main event push, a championship match, then go back into the mid-card empty-handed. Gary says in 2022, who would have thought it'd be Christian putting over upcoming talent and not Edge? Fair. In my opinion, early 2021, when Edge won the Royal Rumble, it became clear what the intention was. He wasn't doing anyone any actual favours. He really wasn't. So, I gotta say, I'm not happy with how Edge is being used. Darnell says, hey Tom. Hey Darnell, how you doing, mate? Do you expect Cody and Stone Cold to come to WrestleMania? Yes, I do. Michael says, was surprised Alexa is in the chamber. I expected Asuka. I was very much the same. The fact is the WWE weren't sure. That's why she wasn't announced immediately. They were trying to work out who it could be. They were reaching out some feelers. There were some fitness tests. They went with Alexa Bliss in the end. Surprised to me too. JJ says, who comes up with the merch ideas in WWE? Because Seth's new shirts are... I cannot make that face. Honestly, everybody's shirts have been a mess. Much like the music lately in WWE, it's a shithole. FNF says, personally, I think the reason Edge isn't giving back to the newer talent is because WWE is scared of something happening to his neck. That would not be a good reason for it. If you're worried about something happening to your neck, you wouldn't be wrestling someone who does a stomp. You just wouldn't. You know, whether they're safe or not, you just wouldn't take that risk. Hector says, Tom, did you see Meltzer's report that Tony Khan is taking a step back on signings until a potential new TV deal is made? Do you think their lack of income or not outlandish ratings and numbers could affect a new TV deal or no? Firstly, I did see that Meltzer report. I also saw that AEW has signed quite a few more people, so not sure that's entirely true. That said, they are cheaper names, as it were. When it comes to the plan at the moment in AEW, to be blunt, they are really not making money, and they are basically bleeding money. Hence why Cody Rhodes has now signed a new deal. Ooh, pardon me. Sorry, guys. This is one of the reasons Cody Rhodes did not sign a new deal, and one of the reasons many people are not signing new deals. Regulars here in the Tom Colohue channel will be fully aware that I am very much up to date with what's going on with AEW contracts, because the first person to report about AEW contracts, the first batch as it were, not being renewed, was this guy. It was this guy. So regular viewers will be fully aware that we are keeping track when it comes to that. When it comes to what Tony Khan is planning at the moment, it seems as though, and this is speculation on my part, it seems as though he's been reined in a little by the bookkeepers. Just reined in a little bit and told maybe stop spending so much money, which is a very, very bad sign for a company that has been working at a net loss every single day of its existence. So hopefully it's not being held back, but more reined in. As regards a new TV deal, the ratings are actually very, very good. We have to stop comparing them to the WWE. And the best way for them to stop being compared to... the best way for us to stop comparing them to WWE is for them to stop comparing themselves to the WWE. Once you stop trying to claim yourselves as competition, you can look at it separately. You're doing pretty damn good. It's not compared. Mario, welcome to the show. Says, is Sasha going to be at WrestleMania 38? Yes, she is. Matthew Ham says, is Edge versus AJ Styles and Randy Orton versus Riddle set for WrestleMania? No, neither of those are set. Edge versus AJ Styles is being pitched, being considered, is likely to happen. Randy Orton versus Riddle is not being considered at this time. At WrestleMania, it looks most likely that we are going to see a tag team championship match between the Alpha Academy and RK Bro. Gary says, hey troll, if you could subscribe each time you make a new account, it'd really help us get to 1,000. It would. Nailed it, Gary. You keep jumping in with your comments, because I'm loving this. Absolutely loving it. And for anyone who has not done so yet, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. At the moment, all we are needing is a few more numbers. Just a few more numbers to get us over that line. We are waiting on, at the moment, just about 6% for subscribers, and we are growing at a tremendous pace. At current growth, we should be at 1,000 by March. Now this would be early March, but March nonetheless. Every subscribe helps, and please remember to hit thumbs up when you can as well. At the moment we have 53 viewers across both platforms. We peaked at 58. We are doing something here that people are really enjoying, and if you'd like to be a part of it, please do jump in. Jay Quick says I'm engaged. Welcome. Welcome is the wrong word. Congratulations, Jay Quick. Congratulations, mate. Thank you for telling us that. Thank you for sharing that. Congratulations, mate. Really happy to hear it. Sean says, I saw that Karrion Kross was announced for 2K22. Yeah, he was sort of in the background, wasn't he? Yeah, there's a few people that they couldn't quite get rid of as fast as they wanted to. A few have been repurposed, but yeah, Karrion Kross, still there. WWE were not happy that got out. Wiggly says, if Asuka isn't returning, is she retiring or leaving for another promotion? I have absolutely no idea if and when she's returning, if and when she's retiring, if and when she's leaving for another promotion. You're asking me to speculate on top of speculation and guess on top of a guess. Can't do it. Ghost says, I'm not sure if everyone saw, but it's very likely that Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae have welcomed their son. On their Discord, Johnny stated that Candice has been in labour for the last 20 hours about an hour ago, so it's either happening or has already happened. A premature or an advance congratulations to the Garganos and to the wrestling family on the birth of theirs. Wiggly says, also Tom, what are you thinking of the scrapping of the away goals? It really does make games a lot more defensive, I'll tell you that. Sean says, were you surprised they didn't have Alexa in the gauntlet? If she was, would she have been beaten by Bianca? Alexa wasn't there. They recorded the vignettes way ahead of time. She wasn't there. But yeah, they're protecting her, not having her lose, as it were, which is clever. Also, Rhea Ripley did some really good work there. Buzzy says the fact that Cody Rhodes might be in WWE again, something I didn't prepare for at all. You would think that some wrestlers would be lifers with one company. You can't be a lifer with one company if you move to AEW from New Japan, Ring of Honor, and WWE. He's not a lifer, he's a bit of a chancer, let's be honest. He goes where the grass is greenest. Michael says Bianca is getting a bit too strong of a push for my liking. Probably not going to want to watch WrestleMania then, Michael. Jay says, since WWE wants Cody, do you think AEW will try and take one of WWE's big stars, like try and offer something WWE isn't? They've been trying that for years. Years. They tried desperately to get Randy Orton. He just got a better deal with WWE out of it. That's good. Matthew Ham says, I heard a report from WrestleVotes saying that a handful of creative want Riddle and Orton to fight at WrestleMania. That was a while back. That is the case. However, that doesn't seem to be what the WWE are going with. The breakup isn't final. There is no plan at the moment to have that match, though WrestleMania is still up in the air. Only about half the card now has actually been sorted, and they're just waiting for more actual information as to it. But I do think the tag match is more likely at this point in time. If they are going to do the breakup, they don't really have a reason for it right now, and neither Randy Orton nor Matt Riddle really want that to happen. Simon is saying, really glad, happy to hear Sasha is happy in the WWE still at least. All I care about is her happiness, her being very happy in her own life at the end of the day. Every indication that I'm seeing and hearing as regards Sasha Banks' overall happiness in the WWE suggests that she is very happy and has no intention of leaving. At least at the moment. Jay Quick says they announced Triple H as commissioner for the GM mode, which is cool. If I'm going to play GM mode, I'm not sure who I'm going to go with, to be honest. I'm really not. Yes, I am going to be Sonya Deville. Why do I'm going to be Sonya Deville? There's absolutely no question. I'm going to be Sonya Deville. In my head, I was like, I don't know who I'm going to be. Let's review this Sonya. I'm absolutely going to be Sonya Deville. There's literally no... Why did I even wonder? Why did I even wonder? I'm obviously going to be Sonya Deville. Ah. Oh. Tom Colohue, what the hell? Larry's asking Jay Quick, can I just check, does the person you're engaged to know you're engaged to them? If so, congratulations. May. Larry, why you got to do people like that? That is cruel, mate. That is cruel. Wiggly says, if you were to speculate on Asuka though, what would you be thinking? I would choose not to speculate. Not at all. Jay quickly confirmed, yeah, she does know she's engaged. Hey. Matthew Ham says, will Brock Lesnar win the title at Elimination Chamber? That'll be a spoiler. Also, I don't know. It's worth pointing out, I really don't know everything. There's quite a lot of news that is announced that I don't have. There's also quite a lot of news that I do have that doesn't make it out there, as it were. For example, news of the offer to Ronda Rousey, news of Becky Lynch's return schedule, news about Sasha Banks that you don't find anywhere else, which is why I encourage people to click follow and subscribe right here in order to keep track of news like that. But yeah, I don't know everything, including right now the winner of Elimination Chamber or what's going to happen for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. But to be fair, the WWE aren't entirely sure what's going to happen for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. That's one of many matches they're just not sure about. Larry says sensible people do go where the grass is greener. And this is a fair point. I'd like to get into a bit more detail on this because I want to just give an example. This week, literally yesterday, I started a new job. Now, in order to start this new job, I had to leave my previous job. And the new job that I have is a job overseeing people who were in my previous position or who are in my previous position. So I can see what me leaving that position did to that team, to their stats, to their overall productivity. I was not directly replaced, so I can see the direct impact of me leaving. Now, they are suffering for my loss. It is a small team, and what I did particularly has not been directly replaced. Now it will be replaced in a short amount of time. End of March, I believe, is the plan for it. It will be replaced, as it were. I will be replaced. But I have still done harm to that team. But I made the right choice. Because simple fact is, sometimes you have to make the right choice for yourself. I made the right choice for myself. It's more money, it's a more fun job, it's better hours, it's less pressure, it's really a lot better for my mental health. I had a 45-minute nap today during my shift. That's just how the job works. It's a monitoring job. So I have to be available, but I don't have to be too available, if you get what I'm saying. So we do a bit of trading and a bit of, okay, you take a break now and I'll go do this. That's how the job works. It is so much better for me. But people have suffered in that team previously where I was. Cody Rhodes is doing the exact same thing. He's going to the better deal. He's getting a raise. He's getting a better push. He's getting a bigger audience. This is better for Cody Rhodes. AEW will be fine. Absolutely fine. And the WWE will pitch this as them beating AEW to something until the end of time. I look forward to the point at which Cody Rhodes does to AEW what he did to WWE. Instead of breaking a golden throne, he says something backstage about hating a boss called Khan. Stuff like that. Don't for one moment think he won't do that, and don't for one moment think that Chris Jericho will let him get away with it. That is what I see coming. JJ says if it's Bianca versus Becky, will they try and have Bianca beat her in 26 seconds or a full match? It'll be a full match. The 26-second thing was just because they weren't entirely sure where Becky was, and they wanted to make sure that people didn't boo Bianca. They didn't want Bianca to be blamed, as it were. And they were trying to turn Becky heel, so it was just a good way. Get in a cheap shot, turn heel, essentially. Sean says, I think I saw something that confirmed Nia is also in the game. That would be an interesting surprise. A very interesting surprise. Tommy says you can make your own GM. That could be cool. I'm still going to be Sonya Deville. She is the best. Douglas says, any update in plans for the Mysterios? At the moment, no real update. I do believe it's likely that Rey Mysterio will pick up the win at Elimination Chamber over The Miz. There is planned to be a minor push for Rey Mysterio to coincide with the release of WWE 2K22. What that push is going to be, I'm not sure. It may just be that he appears on TV a bit more. Sean says, what is everyone's thoughts on Bayley, Liv and Naomi's ratings in 2K22? Bayley has a great rating. Naomi has a good rating. Liv has a terrible rating and she deserves better. James says, any title belts due for a redesign? Not at the moment. The WWE are by and large very happy with the designs that they have. Though I would expect something to change with the cruiserweight belt division and everything, so on and so forth. If it's even still there. Gleb, welcome, sir. A literal shoutcaster. We've spoken about Gleb's dreams before and his intentions. Well, he made it. Gleb's a shoutcaster. Welcome, sir. Says, dropping by to say hello. Good ladies and good gentlemen. Have a good night, shall we? And you, sir. Have a great night. Great to see you. Matthew Ham says, will Goldberg be at WrestleMania? The WWE are currently speaking to Goldberg about a new contract. The new contract would require Goldberg to take a pay cut, and he is not of a mind to do so at this time. If he does take the pay cut, he will be at WrestleMania and will likely be working a squash against someone lower down the card. Maybe a Madcap Moss, for example. Simon is saying AEW is going the way of WCW TNA perhaps from back in the day. I don't see that personally. Dixie got told to rein it in by Janice, Bob, her mum, dad and Panda Energy, the TNA owners back in 2012, I believe. I wouldn't go that far, but when you are working at a massive deficit, you are eventually going to be told to rein it in. And it's a good thing that Gleb is here right now, because at some point soon, we're making this happen. At some point soon, Gleb and I will be hosting a show to talk about AEW in retrospect. Talking financial as well as creative, as well as marketing, really going in depth on this. Gleb is the guy to do this with, so we will be doing that at some point. Buzzy says, ratings shouldn't be much of a complaint. Players do get to adjust that, right? They do, but it's much like FIFA over here in the UK. It's basically the company's way of saying, this is how highly we rate you, with a literal number. It's not great. Simon says, congrats to Sue Young and Rich Swann on the birth of their newborn baby today. Ooh, lots of wrestling babies happening now. Congratulations. BM, welcome. Says, do you think Ray might be inducted into the Hall of Fame soon? Yes, but the WWE are essentially waiting until Rey Mysterio is ready to hang it up before they are ready to go forward and say, hey Ray, let's get you inducted. Go says, Tom, you're only being Sonya for the 6 suits, aren't you? Yes and no. Yes and no. One, she looks fucking amazing in a suit, better than I ever do, so yes, I'm living vicariously. But also, to be blunt, and in many different ways, I feel a little more represented by Sonya Deville than I do by, for example, Triple H. I don't know how else to say it. I feel more represented by Sonya Deville than by someone such as Triple H, Adam Pearce, Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon, maybe. Michael says, is this NXT Level Up thing just a renamed 205 Live? Yes, as 205 Live is right now, it's just a renamed version. As 205 Live was, very much not. It's a developmental for their developmental brand, which is what we were always expecting. Matthew Am says, RK Bro versus Alpha Academy will happen in 2 weeks, not at WrestleMania, based on what Riddle said at Raw. Could well do, but that's not long to build an Orton versus Matt Riddle feud after all. Plus, with Matt Riddle and not Randy Orton featuring at the Elimination Chamber, we'll have to wait and see what happens on that. But to be blunt, I also haven't seen Raw yet because I've been away and I've been starting the new job and I haven't had time. Simon says, Cody also did PWD TNA Impact, also to as well winning the NWA World Heavyweight Championship at All Out 2019 against Nick Aldis/Magnus. Thank you, Simon, for clarifying on that. Basically, Cody did everything, an indie tour and a half. Wiggly says, when do you think we will know about the WWE UK pay-per-view? Around about SummerSlam, we should hear about it. It is currently scheduled in for September. Wiggly also says, I know Tony Khan has just speculated about doing a major AEW show in the UK in the near future. Interest has cooled on that. Interest has cooled backstage in AEW about making that happen. Gleb says, damn, I'd love to do that. I had so much fun doing that back in the time, and seeing Cody going to WWE, not doubting it might be quite near in the future. Indeed, mate, we can look forward to that one. And I hope everyone else watching would love to tune into that one as well. A real in-depth analysis of what's going on in AEW could be a lot of fun, and would really look at, try and be just as objective as possible, looking at the strengths and weaknesses of AEW right now, and seeing what they can do in the future. We've done that for WWE. We do that all the time for WWE. Strengths, they're always making money. Weaknesses, they're creative, obvious, and going beyond there. Simon is going to play GM mode as Shane O'Mac because here comes the money. Buzzy says, I remember when 205 Live was enjoyable and the cruiserweights were putting on some absolute clinics. Then things changed and it was forgotten about. I only ever tuned in for Buddy Murphy. Matthew Ham says, will there be a US title ladder match at WrestleMania? Unlikely. Darnell says quite similar. We need an IC title in a ladder match. More likely, but still not entirely likely. BM says, why is Michael Cole not being inducted yet? More than deserving, because the WWE, as mentioned, like to wait until they're a little bit closer to retirement before announcing them for the Hall of Fame. Wiggly says, I've never really watched much Japanese wrestling. Can anyone recommend what I ought to watch other than New Japan? Stardom. You would love Stardom. Based on who you like as wrestlers, Stardom. Simon is suggesting Sasha vs Trish at Mania 38 has been pitched. Who knows whether they'll pick it up. Wiggly says, why is interest cooled in AEW? Are they not making inroads with the UK fan base? Yes and no. COVID has, of course, made a big hit on everything. But there is less interest now because there isn't that much interest in the UK fan base, and also they don't have a great TV deal over here. Sean says Ali and Murphy had their best matches on 205 Live, and you are not wrong. Larry says, any idea what sort of ratings AEW gets on ITV4? No, last I checked it was about 50 to 70,000 total, which isn't bad, but that's not necessarily just live. WWE and Thomas fan says, I feel like at WrestleMania 38, instead of Stone Cold facing Kevin Owens, Owens is going to cut a promo in the ring challenging anybody in the back. Lights go out and Cody Rhodes is there. Well, you're entitled to that opinion, mate. Wiggler says, also I'm wondering if AEW's bubble has burst. Signing Punk and Bryan made waves, but it seems to have gone a bit quiet now. That's not necessarily a bubble bursting, that's just AEW as AEW does. AEW peaks and troughs. We are yet to have an actual honest look at what AEW's average rating will be, because the way that Tony Khan keeps things interesting is with, have you seen there's a huge surprise coming? The surprise is huge, mate. There is no doubt in my mind that the CM Punk news was intentionally leaked. And of course, regulars here on the Tom Colohue channels did already know about it. JJ says, I hope Becky and Lita don't end with DQ. We'll see. I'm confident Becky's taking the win. Rob says, any speculation on Mox's contract? If I recall correctly, should be reaching its end soon. The initial was 3 years, May, June, notwithstanding option clause. The contract also may have been paused on the basis of him leaving the company for a little while to go and sort himself out a little bit. So we don't know when it comes to this contract. Also, AEW do not announce new contract signings. He could have signed years ago and we'd never know. Glev says, I think I've actually talked about it on one of the shows. I even looked up my old video I did for my colleague back in the day. I already had a few thoughts about this Cody thing in general, to be honest. Take some notes, we'll jump in on that. Matthew says, what title is planned for a ladder match at WrestleMania? There is no ladder match planned for WrestleMania at this time, so none. Wiggly says, AEW don't even broadcast live on UK TV, and that's one of the reasons they've gone quiet on it. Moneymaker says, could they do Brock versus Roman at the UK pay-per-view? Yes, they could, if they haven't done it beforehand. Wiggly says, no offense, but Keith Lee wasn't a huge surprise. He wasn't. That's exactly who we expected. Jay White was a bigger surprise. James Stewart says, Adam Cole is AEW. Boom. There is indeed a boom there. The boom period. Wiggly says, I can't say I'm an AEW guy. Only tuned in for a handful of people and now they're gone or off TV. I tune in every now and then. I try and keep up to date on what's going on there, but I'm not the most hardcore AEW fan. And Matthew says, what gimmick matches are planned for WrestleMania? At the moment, nothing comes to mind. The only matches that are planned are the ones that we've spoken about earlier, and those are the only ones that are concrete at the moment. So that's our hour, and a little bit more. We are out of questions. I've tried to answer every question that I possibly could. Anything else, keep hold of it, because we will still be doing a show on Friday, and of course it's very possible if there's more huge news, we will end up doing a show tomorrow as well. If there is news, I'll be jumping on. I'll be going for at least an hour, depending on if we have enough questions to last the hour. Longer if we have even more questions and even more people chatting. We peaked at 56 viewers today. So please remember, if you're watching on Twitch, hit that follow. You'll get a notification every time we go live and you can ask your questions. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like. You'll do me a big favour essentially on keeping this show with some new viewers, some new growth and some new subscribers. Subscribe if you haven't as well for more shows like this, and remember we will be creating the shows ahead of time for the live shows, so if you're a regular here, you will get notified. I guarantee it. In the meantime, stay tuned. There will be more coming. Check the Discord for a spoiler warning design, potentially for merch that we're looking at, and I'd like feedback on if possible. More news to come as it develops. But in the meantime, I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I'll see you all very soon.